Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all of the things Nintendo. With me this week is Harrison,
Hey, welcome back.
Momo,
It's good to be let out of the dungeon after last week or so it's good to be back, boys.
and Sean.
Olimar went home.
Well, thank you all for joining me this week and our listeners. I guess I could say us, but thank you for joining this week. And Sean, you already hinting at it. How was your week in Nintendo? I know you finished Pikmin. That's what that was about. What you were just saying there.
Yes, you know what's funny? It literally took you just going, well, if you just take a day and rebuild your Pikmin stock, I'm like, oh yeah. So I did that, got them home, had a day to spare. If you haven't played it, guys, I recommend the Pikmin, but I'm glad the time thing is it gets a little stressful at the end.
Yeah, it kind of comes back in the third Pikmin game, but they give you so much supply that you'd have to just be like intentionally not searching for it's like berries that you need to stay alive, or like fruits. It's fruits. And you'd have to like intentionally be avoiding them in order to run out of time. They give you so much. But I guess it's technically possible. What have you been playing, Harrison?
Started Luigi's Mansion
Nice.
as soon as we stopped recording last week, and I'll spare you because we don't have enough time because I'm writing something much bigger for this game, but I'll just give you a couple of
Nice.
big picture things. I'm on floor number 12, so I might finish it today.
Nice.
Unless Luigi just falls off the side of the mansion. This is an A tier game, like easily. I mean, this is easily a 9 out of 10. It's I don't want to get wrapped up in hyperbole, but I mean, like, it's just one of those. Once again, it's one of those games that I played 4 years later, and I'm like, hey guys, like, did you know this game is awesome? You know,
We did.
I'm
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
yeah, I'm solving, like, for the most part, I'm getting through it on my own. There's still a couple parts where I'm like, I'm just too dumb. But I did want to leave you with one idea I've been thinking about, and Sean, I think you're gonna hate it. Just forewarning you.
Okay.
Um, I think there should be Luigi Mansion DLC, and it's going to be Luigi Leaf Blower Simulator. It's gonna be Mario Luigi Life Sim, because blowing the leaves in that game just feels so good.
I'd be down for that.
It feels
Yeah,
so
it
good.
That
does.
would be a good, like, mini game thing. Yeah, I'm all for Leaf Blower Luigi.
Nintendo, make sure that's in Dark Moon remake, or it's called Luigi's Mansion 2 now. But yeah.
Well, that's the other part I would add as well, is that after almost finishing this one, I gotta say my enthusiasm for Dark Moon is like
Oh, yeah.
it's just not there anymore.
I will say, yeah, it's Dark Moon. It's not as good. It's still a good game, but it's like it's completely different than the other two Luigi's Mansion games, whereas they're more like free explore type games, and the second one is like mission based. So like you're only in specific sections of the house, and you have like an objective, and then you complete the objective, and you go back to like a little hub thing and talk to the guy, forget his name, and then you get another objective, and then they send you to another part of the house. So it's more like pieces than Luigi's Mansion and Luigi's Mansion 3, which let you just kind of free explore.
Professor...
It's
I can't remember his name now.
Honey? No, not Honeycut.
Other podcast.
Might be Honeycut.
No.
Yeah. Momo, what have you been up to?
Well, before I get into me, I just want to say maybe some more DLC for that. You know, instead of blowing leaves, you can transform the vacuum into a power washer type of system, and
Oh yeah.
the ghost can go around to the level and make it all dirty, and you have to fight the ghosts, like, washing everything and try and beat them before they can fully dirty everything into their mansion. So, that'll be pretty good DLC as well, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I was thinking of like a version of the Power Wash Simulator because there's like a dozen of those now.
Yep.
Yeah, same lines, right?
Yeah, same way. But for me, yeah, I've been. I can't really go into much of detail of what I've been doing. I haven't really had much of a Nintendo type of week or so since I last been on because we've had some serious, some government testing and some things like that. I've been pretty much locked in a room doing some stuff that I can't go into. So I've been, really occupied with that with work. Unfortunately, I've had stuff installed like the new Mario and stuff. Haven't had a chance to touch it. But on Nintendo news, I guess my wife, on the other hand, she's been playing the Switch a lot more recently, got back into Pokemon. So she's, got re-downloaded the DLC for Violet and whatever. And then she's got our other Switch that's got so you got Violet, and what's the other one?
Scarlet.
It's Violet. Scarlet, yeah. So Violet on one, Scarlet on the other. And then she uses both of them to like trade, cheating, trading and stuff like that. So she's been preoccupied with that. So, I mean, I've been playing, but at least I've been watching my wife play Pokemon and stuff like that.
Well, there you go.
So a bit of slow last week or so since I was last on. But due to work and stuff like that, which I can't really go into on this podcast, with some government stuff. And but I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have been up to and talking about the talking points. I'm sure we'll get into Mario and stuff like that. Even though I haven't touched it yet, I've got it downloaded just to hear you guys' thoughts and just, hopes and dreams. And when I get to finally pick it up and play it. And that's where I've been at, boys.
Yeah, that's what I've been playing. And I just thought, our listeners out there are probably eager to hear our thoughts on Mario Wonder. So just thought I'd throw out the few bullet points I had here. And then, Sean, you've been playing it too, right?
Yep. Yeah, I did end up getting it at launch, so I've been enjoying it. I will formally swallow my words on the podcast and say that it is no New Super Mario Brothers, just continued. So I was pleasantly surprised.
So yeah, the notes that I had were that a lot of the Wonder segments remind me of... It's the whole concept of having Wonder segments in the levels reminds me of the Shadow World in Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
like it's
go
it's not the same thing, but it's like exactly, when you go on the doors and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, but it seems like the same type of idea. So it's crazy that it took this long for something like that to end up back in a game again for Mario. And then also there's a lot of, I'm only probably 10% into the game, but I've had a few levels like this so far where you go into the background, which really reminded me, that's like straight out of Wario Land on the Virtual Boy. Yeah, which is that idea has been there since the Virtual Boy. So it's crazy that wasn't used a lot either.
Isn't one of Yoshi's ones have that when they go into the background? Yoshi games recently?
I think games have used it once or twice here and there, but this is
Wonder
it's in
do it
a
lot.
bunch of levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I have to say I'm on the I don't know if it's considered the second or the third world because not to spoil too much, but it's not broken up like a traditional Mario game. So you could call this the third world. You could, whatever. I'm that far. I'm in the ice area, whatever you want to call that. And I'm starting to feel like there could have been more power-ups.
Yes.
Cause now I've hit them all. And I'm I don't know. I wish the ice flower was in the game because I love that thing so much.
So I don't know if I'm alone, but I don't like Bubble Mario. I don't like it.
It's okay, but the reason I want there to be more power-ups is for the first time, it seems like they're making the power-ups a big way of solving puzzles in the game.
Yeah.
At least to get the collectibles. And it'd be nice to have, more power-ups would mean more puzzle variety. So that would be nice. I'm going to try to beat this game without looking anything up because I'm assuming that at some point there's going to be a badge that has like a wonder seed detector and probably like a purple coin detector.
Yeah, that makes
and that
sense.
way I'll be able to find them all. So that's basically a lesson I learned from Lego City. I mean, not Lego City, Lego Marvel, which I just finished, is a lot of times I would look something up online and then I'd find out there's a way in the game that you could have found it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to do with this Mario game is if I can't find something, I'm not going to say, no, I need to find it right now. I'm just going to move on and assume that later in the game, they're going to give me the tools to find it.
So the things they improved that I like that unless it's specific to the level, the timer is gone.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like a big change, but it took my wife and I a little getting used to that you can't run into each other anymore. And it makes it so much more enjoyable because now I'm not like, oh, I jumped on your head and you're dead. And, like I don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
My only other criticism is I wish they didn't go with Bowser as the villain again. Hopefully the next big Mario title gives us a new villain or maybe Wario or the guy from Super Mario Brothers 2, something. Wart. Yeah, I'm getting kind of sick of I'm not getting sick of Bowser. I'm just like, it's so predictable at this point. Like it's always Bowser at the end. And I know the Zelda series has that too. Like it's always Ganon, but even Zelda series has a few other second tier villains. You've got Zant. You've got who's the guy from the
Skyward Sword.
The guy who's like a shadow. Yeah.
Jumping on that.
Majora's Mask guy.
I guess my only slight nitpick thing is I think I've only done 2 worlds so far, but I guess you're gonna just fight Bowser.
Vaati. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
Vaati, Vaati, yeah.
You're gonna fight Bowser Jr. at the end of every world, and I'm like, why didn't they just bring the Koopa kids back? Like,
yeah,
I kind of get sick
especially since, not to spoil anything, but it's not just like every time they bring the Koopa kids back, it's the same fight every single time. And the Bowser Jr. fights, they actually do some clever things and change things up. So you could have just had it be the Koopa kids, like you said, and it wouldn't be the same character every time.
But no, I highly recommend it, and I think whenever we have our Game of the Year episode, it's going to be really tough, I think, to pick.
Yeah, it's a good year. And if you're behind on your Nintendo backlog, our first news story is good news for you. So Doug Bowser said that Nintendo accounts will bring about a smooth transition to the next platform.
Oh, good.
And that hopefully means sharing, backwards compatibility and sharing downloads. Let me read the exact quote. He at first says, well, I can't comment, or I won't comment, I should say, on the rumors that are out there. So the rumors being that the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, I'm guessing. But one thing we've done with the Switch to help with that communication and transition is the formation of the Nintendo account. In the past, every device we transitioned to had a whole new account system. Creating the Nintendo account will allow us to communicate with our players if and when we make a transition to a new platform to help ease the process or transition. Our goal is to minimize the dip you typically see in the last year of one cycle and the beginning of another. I can speak to the possible futures of a new platform, but the Nintendo account is a strong basis for having that communication as we make the transition.
Well, that would be great.
So, yeah, hopefully that means, imagine how much of a selling point that would be for the Switch 2 is, hey, day one, you've got one of the best libraries in Nintendo history all available, plus whatever we're launching with.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they fix their infrastructure. Like Nintendo's been slowly getting better on the infrastructure. So hopefully now they've been friends with Microsoft like a lot recently.
Yeah.
Maybe they've gone to Microsoft and say, hey, how did you guys get your infrastructure? You guys are like the kings of it, how your infrastructure works, especially like with cloud and Game Pass and that. Can you help us like just give us some pointers to help us get our infrastructure like up and running into a better place where it is now. I think we're going to probably see that relationship with Microsoft's going to be very really good for Nintendo in a positive way when it comes to like structure, infrastructure, and everything like that. So, and streaming and cloud, if in the future, if they get to that point, you know.
Yeah, I
So the part that stood out to me in this quote was the part is he says our goal is to minimize the dip you typically see in the last year of one cycle, and I'm thinking like, well, that's most likely this year or this fiscal year, and
Yeah.
I must say like goal achieved, Doug Bowser, because like I've been thinking about like pretty much all of the YouTubers that I watch when they did their predictions or wrap up from last year, they were all predicting like this next year, seventh year of the system, it might be a really light year, and whew, they were wrong. Like they were very, very wrong in that. But none of us knew like we knew we were getting a Zelda game,
right.
but like we didn't know like how well the Switch was going to do in its seventh year. So that part stood out to me. I've changed my thoughts on Doug Bowser since I started this podcast with you guys. I'm starting to like him a little bit more.
He's more than just a clever marketing name.
Yeah, well, like I don't mind that he doesn't have the gravitas, or that he doesn't have like he's a little bit more boring.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit more boring, but
Yeah.
but like in my opinion, like that's okay, because like I feel the same way about, you know, in America, I feel the same way about our government officials, you know, like I wish sometimes they were more like employees that just focused on like doing their job. And yeah, I mean that's clearly what's going on.
Well, he's not about taking names and kicking ass, or is it kicking ass and taking names, as I remember Reggie's first saying when he first came out?
Yeah, and Reggie is the good comparison, because Reggie does have the riz
A little
I think,
bit, yeah.
the kids are saying. Yeah. I do like shout out to Inverse Magazine to ask a question about a possible 2D Zelda game. I thought that was really good. And
that we didn't really get an answer. Obviously, they never directly answer those type of questions.
Yeah, but shout out to them for bringing that up and bringing up the comparisons of, you know, success of Metroid Dread and having Mario Wonder come out, and basically that the developers focus on what they want to make, which for a long time, which since 2013,
Sounds about right.
Has been 3D Zelda.
So yeah, I just had a couple of bullet point stories here that I thought they're kind of like follow-ups to things we've said on the podcast before, and then I think our discussion of our favorite fall levels is probably going to take up a big chunk of this podcast. So I'll try to get through these quick, but just some quick follow-ups here for everybody. Mario Party 3 was finally added to Switch Online. It's there as of when you're listening to this podcast. Probably will be the first Mario Party game that gets drawn in the randomizer because it doesn't do anything in order. Dark Forces announced this week that the Star Wars game, it's going to have a tentative release date for February, but it didn't even have a specific day in February. It just says February. So
I saw in the article that I read that it's scheduled for February 28th. Which,
okay. I must have missed that.
it would be March 5th, the anniversary. So I said, why not just release it on February 29th? That seemed like a missed opportunity to me.
Yeah,
Release.
I don't think Dark Forces is going to be as big to like the newer
Yeah.
generation of Star Wars as it is to us. So that's probably why they're not focusing on it.
What a game!
But
It-
yeah,
it loo- Yeah, the screenshots look really, really nice, but I don't think those are from Switch. And they're giving us really big promises as far as the performance goes. So I'm interested in seeing how it runs across all platforms.
I was going to say, and then the last bullet point I have before we get into our discussion of fall levels is that I thought this was interesting, but there's not really much to say about it. The data files for Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1 have already been hacked. It released like a day ago. And apparently the people who can do this have discovered that the data files mention Peace Walker, Metal Gear 4, and Metal Gear Solid 5. So that's probably what we're going to see in Volume 2. So it makes reference to those games being
That
collected.
makes sense.
So, yeah. Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 5. I guess that Raiden spin-off game is not going to get included, but we'll see.
Rising? Is that what that one was?
Yeah. Metal Gear Rising. You're right.
Oh, and Kevin, I wanted to include that Mario Party 3 in the online system will see the return of the Millennium Star to a Nintendo system.
What is that?
Because he replaced Mario Party 3. The Millennium Star replaced Toad as the host.
Oh.
Isn't that right? It's been
yeah.
long, but I just remembered that because it came out after the whole Y2K. It came out either 2000, 2001 in North America, and I just remember thinking that it was a little bit late for the whole Millennium thing. But he doesn't make any other appearances, I think, other than he's like a collectible sticker in like Smash Brothers or something like that. But
Well, welcome back, Millennial Star.
Millennium Star, Millennial Star would be some other totally different character.
And with that, it's the segment that I think we mentioned in the last episode we were going to be doing this week, where we did this for summertime when we talked about our favorite summer levels in games. No real structure, no specific countdown or top 5 or anything. I just thought a general discussion would be fun of our favorite fall levels in games. And the way I've done it in my list here is I kind of made like a separate section for the ones that are Halloween specific.
Yeah, I did that too.
And we're going to have to do the same thing. Yeah, when we do winter games, there's going to be Christmas levels too. I think this will be a fun thing to do each season. And I'll leave it to you guys, whoever wants to chime in with one of their favorite fall levels.
I actually had a really hard time making the list. So
Oh, I did not. I was surprised at how much there was. I was like, I'm keeping stuff off. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, there's stuff that I'm like, that's not really worth mentioning.
So
Yeah,
Momo, you got one?
there's a lot.
I was thinking, because just thinking off the top of my head, Mario Kart. I think Mario Kart had a maple
Yes.
level.
Maple Tree Way.
That was one of the ones
Remember?
I left off my
That's
list.
on my list. That's one of the few I
Yeah,
could think
Maple
of.
Tree Way.
That's a great track. I was
Yeah,
happy.
so I remember the colors. The colors are very beautiful.
You need to
These,
sip
in
some
this
apple
level.
cider while you're driving that track. That is pure fall.
I love that they brought it over to
Yeah,
Mario
that one
Kart
brings out-
Autumn.
8. I'm glad that was a DLC track. But yeah,
They fall or autumn?
we could say autumn.
Okay.
Autumn sounds classier.
Well, that's for me. Autumn, Australia.
You don't say
autumn.
fall? Yeah, because
No,
nothing
we say-
falls in
we-
Australia.
We're all
I don't
I-
have leaves falling.
Doing research for this segment, I said autumn because if you search like Nintendo fall is like, I mean, I'm not much of a seasons guy, but I do think it is like the ultimate like season, and yeah, I feel like there's a big difference between like the Halloween
Yep.
quote unquote, and the autumn levels. So I'll just say like, I mean, the feeling that I get from fall is once again the original Animal Crossing. The game Animal Crossing came out during the fall. There's still lots of rain in the fall during that season, and the rain is just a whole different vibe in that game. And just yeah, it brings back lots of nostalgia, kind of leading into that excitement of holiday season and going back many years to when we actually had seasons in St. Louis, because we don't really have that anymore. We have like 11 different random ones. And Kevin, I know it's on your list too, but I would have to just throw in Stardew at this point.
Yes, I was just thinking about that too.
I just gotta like toss it in there, but I'll let you talk about that because I've talked about Stardew so much. That's the most beautiful season.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite season in the game. Winter is close because I've always been a big fan of winter, but yeah, it's gorgeous. And unlike Harvest Moon, well, I think some of the later Harvest Moon games did this, but Harvest Moon 64 did not, and that was my favorite one. You get pumpkins in Stardew Valley, which is nice. And if you're lucky, you can get a giant pumpkin in your field with, Charlie Brown. That's really cool. So nothing says autumn more than a giant pumpkin in your field. And, obviously you get the leaves changing and like the different festivals. So that one's a great call. The next one that I'd like to talk about, you guys were saying that the Halloween ones felt different than the autumn ones, and I've got a good example of that. So we'll go 3D Mario. A fall or an autumn example would be the Gold Leaf Galaxy in Super Mario Galaxy. It's this like the level, if you don't remember, it's got the big trees that are like they're brown and there's leaves all over the ground, and there's that little central waterfall. It's a very fall themed level. So that would be Mario doing autumn, and then Mario doing Halloween would be Big Boo's Haunt from Mario 64. I remember that like actually being a little creepy to me at the time. Big Boo's Haunt. Which is silly because it's just a Mario game, but that level has some atmosphere that like Mario Galaxy has a Boo level too, but it doesn't have nearly the same atmosphere as Big Boo's Haunt on Mario 64. It's got that music and that like there's always like one of the ghosts like laughing at you. You've got a haunted library, you've got that piano that gives everybody a good jump scare. You've got like paintings that are the walls that you go in and out of like a ghost. You've got a giant ghost battle on the roof. The background, you're in a cage. That's kind of creepy in itself. And yeah, you've got the creepy merry-go-round in the basement. So love Big Boo's Haunt for Halloween theme, and love Gold Leaf Galaxy for autumn vibes. That's the drinking your apple cider level.
See, for us, it's so weird because in Australia, because we're upside down, autumn is at the start of the year for us, and Halloween is in spring. So it's actually two separates for us here. So when you think of Halloween, we're in spring when it's warming up, or our wet season, and autumn is in the early part of the year. So yeah, it's always weird when I hear people. Obviously in America, it lines up for you guys because where your seasons are. But how about this? We can't forget Legend of Zelda. Breath of the Wild had the Akala region.
Oh yeah, yep.
Which is near Terrytown. So they didn't really have seasons, but if you remember near Terrytown, the beautiful just autumn leaves, like the trees are just beautifully autumn. So they didn't really have seasons, but in Breath of the Wild, but like you did have a region where it had like the feel of autumn.
It looks like an oil painting of like autumn. It looks like or one, some, it looks like motel art of autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't know if it really. Yeah.
yeah. I had Breath of the Wild on my kind of list to the side because I talked about Laurelland Village when we did the summer levels, and I didn't want to do Breath because I think I could do Breath of the Wild for all 4 seasons. Yeah,
course
every
you can.
season.
That's true.
Of course
Every
you can.
season, yeah, every biome, like every weather, yeah. So
Yeah,
a safe
you've got
bet.
good
It's a safe-
beaches. You've got snowy mountaintops.
Yeah.
Can't really. Spring is kind of hard, but
Safe bet. Zelda's a safe bet. Breath of the Wild's a safe bet.
and thank you for bringing up Terrytown. I don't think we've talked about Terrytown at all on this podcast. I love Terrytown.
I have rebuilt that town so many times.
It's awesome. It is my favorite. It is my favorite side quest of any game. Although it's kind of like a multiple. You know what I mean? It's my favorite
Yeah.
side quest.
There's multiple layers to it.
It's like, I don't know if you've played Majora's Mask, but there's a very lengthy side quest in that game that involves like kind of going everywhere, and that it's called the Caffey's Mask side quest.
I think.
And
Yeah.
Terrytown is like the Caffey's Mask side quest of Breath of the Wild.
Well, guys, we're forgetting another game that does autumn very well, similar to Stardew Valley. What about Animal Crossing?
Oh yeah.
I-
Yeah, Harrison started.
That's
He
why I
said
started
Animal
with-
Crossing. Yeah, he started with Animal Crossing.
Did you?
And he moved
Did you
over.
say?
Yeah. But I was a little bit slick. I transitioned to Stardew. Yeah. Animal Crossing GameCube.
I missed
was
that.
the
My
one-
bad.
Is the one that
Bum,
I brought up
bum,
because of the
Bum, bum, ba-na-na-na.
of the nostalgia. But since it's back over to me, I'm gonna say Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver for the autumn trees that they have in there. And Pokemon Gold and Silver is just a game. When I think about it, I think about the fall and being in like 5th grade, and again playing it, getting ready for the holiday season, just all that excitement.
So one of the ones I actually had is the entire second world of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is called Autumn Heights. And every single
Oh,
level
dude.
has got, the leaves and the colors, and it's gorgeous. It's
The wind.
in my ranking of 2D platformers, that's still like the top of the heap, but Wonder, a little below it probably right now. But yeah, that whole world is just, you're there. It's autumn. Have some cider. Enjoy.
Very cool.
Oh, Donkey Kong is such an underrated series.
Yes, it is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they need to make more of those games.
It's been 10
Like,
years
the
almost,
Donkey Kong
man.
series is so but it's almost like Nintendo has so many of these franchises, and they space like they're doing the same thing with Metroid, and then I know we just got a bunch of Pikmin releases all back to back, but keep in mind when you look at the span of the series history, there was like 10 years in between games for Pikmin as well. They just do this with their franchises. It's crazy. F-Zero is looking at like a 20-year gap right now. Assuming they make another F-Zero game, it's a 20-year gap. So, yeah.
90s Donkey Kong, like from Super Nintendo, like, Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, 3. Mate, to this day, like, it's so good. Like the Diddy's, the second one was the second one called Diddy's Quest? Diddy's Kong
Quest, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. The opening, the sound, the music.
Yeah.
The music to that when you get the actual menu music, so good.
Even Zelda from time to time has big gaps. Ocarina of Time took like 8 years of development, and then Tears of the Kingdom took a million years, and so did Breath of the Wild. So even Zelda has big gaps. It's like Mario is one of the only ones that they pump out consistently, at least like almost at least every other year.
So Momo, you're waiting for a Donkey Kong Country remaster too, then, of the 3 games.
Oh, just the one
That'd
country
be
1,
great.
2, and 3. Yeah, 100%. Like they're just classic.
Do that in the
The
Tropical
levels-
Freeze engine.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Even the first one was so good. Like the the what do you call them? What's it called? The minor cart levels. I used to hate those levels in the first one when you go on the mine carts. Yeah, it's good, but like when it changes color. But the best thing about it, because it's on rails, and all you can do is go jump like up and down, but like, and then you get the ones that are harder with the colors, and then you got some of the levels that do use colors when you're underground, like the green and red. So you have to switch the colors on and off. Yep. And then you obviously then you have like all the secret bonus. I used to love doing all the bonus levels, getting all like the golden frogs or the fish. You know, you get all the bonus, you get all the bananas, like that kind of stuff. Such classic 90s Donkey Kong that they need to bring back.
I had an indie game that I thought fit pretty well too. So, any of you guys play Firewatch?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love that game.
That whole game's set at fall, and if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. It's on
that
Switch.
Game. So when I played that game, that was back when I was single and living like on my own, and I had my own apartment, and I would play that game late at night, and it was scarier than any horror game. It was like the sense of isolation that game creates, and like the feeling that you're being watched is almost unmatched.
And it was at that moment where Kevin decided he needed a girlfriend. So listeners, if you're single, if you're single,
I'm married.
Play Firewatch.
Yeah. Exactly. Now you're married. Exactly. Yeah. See how well it ended off. Sean, did you know that Firewatch is referenced in a Stanley Parable? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that, but that's awesome.
Yeah. I think. I mean, it's made on the same engine, and I think the developers are friends. But it's really cool because like Stanley Parable is like that's a game that I hate playing if I'm alone at home because of the jump scares that are in that game. So I think I think it was funny how they referenced it. Like you literally go into the game in Stanley Parable. Anyway,
they mentioned it recently on the Boy Meets World podcast too. None of them are very big into video games, but they were talking about games that they got obsessed with. And Ryder Strong, the guy who played Sean Hunter on Boy Meets World, apparently got really into Firewatch, and he was talking about it on their podcast. And I was like, oh, blast from the past.
I mean, yeah, if you haven't played it, well, I don't want to ruin any of it. It's really
cool.
It's worth playing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I had a quick list of indies that I went through my Switch, and I was surprised how many I think would fit into the Halloween category. So I'll just list them off real quick. Limbo, Inside, Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, Cozy Grove, Cult of the Lamb, and of course we have to mention it one time this episode, Vampire Survivors.
And that's why it's not on my list, because I knew you'd bring it up.
I downloaded it.
Now, as far
I
as
haven't actually
games,
opened it yet, but I downloaded it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Join us.
We're converting everyone.
Spooky games. I had Zombies Ate My Neighbors, the whole game, obviously, and the sequel to these is coming to Switch, which was exciting. But Little Nightmares 1 and 2, highly recommend those if you haven't played them. They're perfect for right now.
Yeah,
great atmospheric, creepy games.
Yeah, I'm surprised the amount of creepy kind of games that are on the Switch when I started even just looking through my own collection, because this is not my genre. Has anyone ever played Pumpkin Jack?
That sounds familiar, but no.
No, I keep debating. Is it any good?
I keep hearing that it's really good, but I don't know if it's
better. Okay, because I don't know anyone.
Yeah,
I always debate because it goes on sale occasionally, and I'm like, that seems like something I'd like, but.
Yeah, because I was thinking of the other ones, because there's still a lot of other just indies on on the system. I don't know, Dead by Daylight. Yeah, you said Little Nightmares, Beacon Pines. Um, yeah, Dying Light, Hello Neighbor. There's a lot.
Limbo's really creepy. That's a great game.
I
So
haven't loaded that one up yet. Like perhaps I'll do that after Luigi's Mansion because Inside was phenomenal. I mean, it was. I mean, what everyone should own that game.
if you liked Inside, you'll like Limbo.
No, I'm good. And Inside didn't creep me out that much, but they did a great job with making it feel like a nightmare. Like especially the parts where you're trying to run and you just can't run fast enough. Like like there's parts of it that do feel like a dream, like a lucid dream, or like a REM sleep. Um,
Inside did a great job of just making you uncomfortable.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the whole game where you're like, I want to keep going, but I just feel icky. So
Well, if you feel icky, like I can't ruin the ending, but oh my god,
no,
like
no, don't ruin the ending for people.
yeah. But I would say like I love the fact that like studios are willing to take those kind of risks in games. For my to end my autumn level list, I just wanted to mention that I had to put down all of my autumn sports games that I would play as a kid. Autumn's a time
yeah.
of 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 NHL, and it used to be the time of Madden, used to be the time of NBA, and like I used to play all of those games, and then when I was a kid, there was competition to all those games that I would play, and uh, definitely when I think about social games like playing like NHL or something, it definitely brings me back. So that concludes my list.
Yeah, that's all I had on mine.
So I had a few more autumn. I had a few more autumn
Yeah.
titles we haven't mentioned yet. Paper Mario Origami King has this gorgeous autumn section where, again, we're saying a lot of the same things, but each one has its own vibe. It's another one where you get a lot of fall, brown leaves. You've got the music. You've got the wind blowing by in that Paper Mario style. And yeah, Autumn Mountain in Origami King, it lives up to its name. It is the Autumn Mountain.
See, and that's a game that I'm waiting for a sale, which I know will never happen because I'm curious about it, but you guys say it's just okay.
Yeah,
No.
you don't need to play it.
All right.
Exactly. It's okay. I would say at this point, just play Thousand Year Door when it comes out because I know you haven't played that either. So just wait for Thousand Year Door. It's the better Paper Mario. The only thing wrong with it, and it's such a shame, the only thing wrong with Origami King is the battle system. If they had just perfected that, everything, like all the places you go are great, the puzzles are fun, the dialogue is hilarious. It's just the battle system becomes super tedious after a while. Like it's really just like I don't want to do it anymore. And B, you don't have to do it anymore because your characters don't level up. So there's no point in fighting anybody and you just avoid all the fights. So it's like, why is this even in the game?
That's kind of silly.
Anyway, that's my rant about Origami King.
What else you got?
The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons has autumn, obviously, because it's seasons.
Makes sense.
And it's my favorite season in that game. And then the one that I think we could bring up for every single one of these is Banjo-Kazooie's Click Clock Wood.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has all 4 seasons. It's a level. If you haven't played it, they did a level in the first Banjo-Kazooie where there's 4 doors and each door is the level in the same map in a different season and in the same year too. So like you see progress of like a house that's being built and things like that. And the bees the bugs go away when it's winter and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
It's just really cool. And you have to use it to solve the different puzzles of like, oh, I need to go when the house is complete to be able to reach this thing on the roof and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's a really cool level. It takes a lot of time, though. I gotta say that one level is basically 4 levels in one.
That's really cool, though.
So it's like it's towards the end of the game too. So you start to feel like, all right, I'm almost done. I only got 1 level left or whatever, and then you see that and you're like, well, this is 4 levels in one, but it's worth it. In my Halloween specific games, I already said Big Boo's Haunt. One I thought Sean was going to bring this one up because we both played this back in the day, but only the second one is on a Nintendo system, which I don't like because there's no reason for them not to put the first one on there.
I didn't
But
know
a
the
series
second
called
one.
Costume Quest.
That's on the Switch?
Yeah, Costume Quest 2 got a like limited Switch release. But it did happen.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
great game too.
And I didn't buy it because I was like, I want to buy both of them. You know what I mean? So, or it might have been the Wii U, actually, to tell you the truth. It was that long ago. I think it was the Wii U that it was on. But either way, it's a Nintendo system. And only the second one came out on Nintendo. The first one is PlayStation, I guess, exclusive. But yeah, Costume Quest 1 and 2, it's this RPG where your little kids trick-or-treating and like
Yeah, it
troll.
was
I don't know what the
Trolls in the
story of the
first
second game was because I never played it because they never put them both out. But yeah, trolls took over the town secretly, and you're like going house to house trick-or-treating and getting in turn-based combat battles with the trolls and collecting candy. And you go to the mall and you go to all these like places and they're all decked out in Halloween
You
stuff.
get
it's a really cool
Final
Halloween
Fantasy summons, but they're in like really cheesy costumes, and then when they get the summon, it's like this really cool like cutscene thing. So yeah, no, that's a great game.
Yeah, it's like what the costume is in the kid's mind. It's so cool. But wish they would both come to Switch. There's no reason not to. Like I said, the second one, I just looked it up, came out on the Wii U, not Switch. So come on, whoever owns Costume Quest, do it. And then Luigi's Mansion, we've mentioned, that's an obvious one. New Super Mario Brothers Wii U for Halloween themed things has that Van Gogh paint Starry Night like painted level. It's called Painted Swampland.
Yeah, that's a good level.
That's really cool for Halloween. And then I had a big rant that I wrote about this one. This is the one I'm the most passionate about, I guess. So for a good Halloween level, a game I'm always supporting, Yooka-Laylee. It has Moody Maze Marsh. And I feel like the Yooka-Laylee gets unfairly criticized because I always see a main criticism of the game being that every review will be like, well, not every, but lots of reviews would be like, it's a perfect replica of the Nintendo 64 era collectathon games that Rare made, but they'll always slide in like, but do these games hold up by today's standards? And I'm like, I see that in a lot of reviews, and I get why you need to say that in a review, but at the same time, I'm like, that's irrelevant. The game's trying to be a throwback to those older games, and that's what it's trying to do, and it nails it. So you can't say, but does this hold up today? It's like it's doing what it's trying to do. It's not trying to be a today game. So that kind of frustrates me. It's like, the game, it exists for people who want another Banjo. It's basically there for people who want Banjo-Kazooie 3. And so they made Banjo-Kazooie 3, and then the reviews are like, but is Banjo-Kazooie 3 worth playing today? And it's like, well, the people who want it obviously think it is.
Are you one of these people that want a game you like?
It's like they're reviewing it for the... They're like reviewing it for the people who have never heard of it. You know what I mean? And it's like that. This is such like a niche game. It's so specific about the type of player it wants that it's almost like anyone else is irrelevant at that point, because you're going to be completely lost about all the in jokes and like type of things going on in the game. But anyway, it's got a Halloween level. It's got a Moody Maze Marsh. It's like this swamp area that's got pumpkins and all kinds of, like, it's got like the purple swamp. It's very Halloween, very like Hobgoblin from Spider-Man type of level. So yeah, anyway, my
rant.
last word on that is I don't know why Banjo-Kazooie gets 10 out of 10 reviews all the time, and then the same people will be like, oh, Yooka-Laylee, not a 10 out of 10 because this doesn't hold up, but Banjo-Kazooie doing the exact same game is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, people view it differently. We talked I think a lot on this podcast about how I think more developers should take games that they like and are awesome and just make their own versions of those games. Like,
Yeah,
so
like Stardew.
so like there's no like, and there should be no problem about that, because like if you like those sort of games, then having more of those games just means that you have a choice of playing or not playing those games. So what you said, Kevin, I've been feeling a lot about this with the initial like Mario Wonder Game of the Year discussions, where I've been seeing a lot of people saying that it shouldn't be a nominee because this is like it's like a child's game, or it's a 2D Mario. It's not 3D. It's not like it's somehow less than these other nominations would be. And I would just say that it might just not be for you, and you might and also we might just need to keep in mind that video games are for children, and
I think it's important in any review of anything, movies, music, TV, anything, to keep in mind what you can't criticize a piece of art for not being something it's not trying to be. You know what I mean? So like you said, Mario Wonder is trying to have the exact target audience it has, so you have to review it based on that. Just it would be like, I don't know, reviewing a comedy and saying it wasn't scary enough or something. Like, it's not trying to be that.
I mean, from my experience with it, I've played it with a few different people now, and some of them are not fans of that genre. Everyone has enjoyed their time with it, so I don't think it's a kid game. But
yeah, and there are legitimate criticisms.
Oh, yeah.
Like we said up front at the beginning of the podcast, but you wouldn't say something like it's not dark. You wouldn't say Mario Wonder isn't dark enough. It's like, well, it's not trying to be dark. Like something like that.
I would just say, like, I mean for someone like me who hasn't played it, I'm more on the no opinion side, because people were being negative about the initial reviews even before the game launched, and people saying,
well,
like,
I mean,
well,
like I said,
how could this game compare to like Tears of the Kingdom or like Resident Evil or like another Game of the Year.
All right, so I think that's all the fall levels we have to talk about anyway. So we'll do our best with Sean's delay, and we'll move into the Spotlight game, I think. We got one more thing left to talk about this week, and that is something we were supposed to talk about last week, which is Musha for the Sega Genesis. Came out in December of 1990 in Japan and March of 1991 in North America. And the first thing I thought about this is it's interesting to note how far ahead the Genesis was at this point in gaming, because played this back to back with the last game we looked at, Scat, because these were only about 6 months apart. And Scat came out, they were about 6 months apart. So if you just got your brand new copy of Scat on the NES and you went over your friend's house and he had the Sega Genesis, this would have blown your mind. Like, I can totally see why the Genesis generated the fan base it did, even though I was a Nintendo household. And that 6-month gap, by the way, it's only the Japanese release. In North America, Musha came out before Scat on the NES. So that same scenario I just played out for you, it's completely plausible that one person just bought Scat on the NES and his neighbor had this at the same time.
I mean, this game much superior in visually, and it looks like it's just aged better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's apparently like one of those games that's like a super expensive cart for collectors because people didn't buy it at the time, but now they want it because it's an amazing game. And yeah, for an early Genesis shoot 'em up of the 16-bit era in general, it looks great. Like the anime cutscenes look fantastic, which is not something you were seeing a lot of at the time. The gameplay, you got the, it's a shoot 'em up, so you want a lot of crazy stuff going on the screen, and this delivers.
Yeah, it felt overwhelming at times for me, but I was impressed by the way it looked. Overall, I thought the difficulty was decent, but there were times where I felt a bit overwhelmed with the backgrounds and with everything going on. But in general, I agree.
I couldn't tell how much of that was just general how I feel about shooters in general.
Yeah, but in general, I mean, I think this is a great addition to the online service, and I was trying to go through the games that I knew. Do you have a favorite vertical shooter? Because I do not.
Just out of nostalgia, I've got two. I don't think these are very like highly regarded, but UN Squadron on the Super Nintendo is a really good one. And then this always comes up on this podcast. It's only two or three games on the Virtual Boy, but I loved my Virtual Boy, so it's gonna come up. Vertical Force is a really good shoot 'em up on the Virtual Boy, and the way it used the 3D effect was like a top and bottom type thing, because obviously it's a shoot 'em up, so you're flying in like an overhead view. And there would be like two layers where you could fly from the top to the bottom layer, and it was really good.
This subgenre is not. Would you say back in the 80s, like arcade, this genre, like shoot 'em up genre, was probably very popular, but consoles, you don't really see much of them every day. Like these days, this subgenre of like shoot 'em ups, you know.
Well, I remember seeing 1942 a ton, like that shoot 'em up. I feel like that was very heavily representative of the genre back then. I think that came out that was like one of the original NES games, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, since the 90s or since the NES, like these days, we rarely see like this type of game. I think mobile, you probably see, if I remember correctly, I think mobile has these type of like shoot 'em up games nowadays. I see a few of them, but just in general, like a console, like a brand like Nintendo or even like Xbox or PlayStation, we don't really have this style of game these days. It's been a long time, yeah.
I'm sure there's indie developers making them, but there's none that are like on my radar.
Like mainstream type of.
Yeah.
So Momo, do you want to guess how many shoot 'em ups released on Genesis?
It's a lot.
You know what?
Because in my research, I'll say one thing I read was that this game was criticized when it came out by them basically saying like the Genesis has enough shoot 'em ups, we don't need more of them.
They felt overwhelmed with it. So Momo, what would you say?
I'd say about 25.
82.
Oh, so close.
Well, keep in mind the Genesis has a huge library as well. It's not like It's not like the Nintendo 64 era where there were only like a little less than 300 games or something.
Well, but it's not it's not the Switch library that has like over 5,000. Like 82 is a lot. It's just but again, it's like it's very easy to see why you would feel overwhelmed with a shoot 'em up at this point.
Quick Google search says the system supports a library of 880 games. So
Damn.
about 10%. About 10% are
Yeah.
Bang Bang.
that's bigger than I thought it was, though. I would have guessed somewhere in the. I probably would have guessed in the 700s, actually.
Yeah. So, but I still think it's a good addition. I really like the red mech cover art that they have for this one, and I forget which Genesis game we were doing, Kevin. But how did you feel about the audio in this game?
Because I don't like the Sega Genesis sound card. It was better than whatever we did last time with it, though. Trying to remember what game that was.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, but this was a little bit better, but it's still a little tinny. Like it's still a little got like a twang to it that the Super Nintendo sound card doesn't have. So in my overall rankings, though, I did really like this game. This is more of a reflection on the fact that we haven't played a lot yet. Well, we've played almost 40 games, but there's a lot of variety in there. Anyway, this is in my top 10, but it's not going to stay in my top 10, is what I'm trying to say. But right now, it's going to be number 9 on my list because I liked it a lot.
I'm gonna put it lower. I think I'm gonna put it below Comic Zone. I think I'm gonna put it at number 25.
I think that was the one we did last. That I said the music I didn't like.
Yeah, Comic Zone. It's kind of hard to differentiate, but actually, there's a ton. I'm kind of throwing all the Sega games into one area. I might need to reflect on that a little bit. I might need to do some soul searching.
So where did you put it?
I'm gonna put it number 25. I haven't added it to the doc yet.
I'll add it right now. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my dog kind of nuzzled in here while you were talking.
Yeah, and I would recommend it, and I think similar to the last few we've done, Scat, Comic Zone, Musha. There's a lot of options.
Well, Sean just texted me. I guess we're gonna lose him for the rest of the episode, but he just texted me his ranking where his complete review is, I liked it. I ranked it number 17. So on his list, it's below Kirby's Dream Land and above Mappy Land.
That is a very weird game sandwich once again.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to go with your feel. You got to just be like, which would I rather play right now? All right, let's hit this randomizer up and find out what we're playing next week. So the next game we're playing is actually a game I finished this year, so it's fresh in my mind. I'll be able to talk about the complete game. Metroid 2: Return of Samus on the Game Boy.
Oh, very
And
nice.
little tip for you out there. I don't know if everybody knows this, but in the settings on the Game Boy for Switch Online, you can turn on Game Boy Color and you can turn on Game Boy Pocket settings, which I never knew this because I never had a Game Boy Pocket. But the Game Boy Pocket makes it a much better to look at simple black and white color scheme instead of like the Game Boy green and white or whatever you'd call it. So turn on that filter is my advice. That seems like everything we had to say this week. What is your favorite Halloween / autumn level listener, let us know. Send us a message, send us an email, send us smoke signals, send us whatever you can send us. Our email address is nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. We've got Twitter. You can get at us at Nintendo Therapy, and we'll read it on the show, and we'll talk about everybody's different opinions. Checking our email right now, we don't have anything in there this week. That is the show. As always, keep in mind we are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So if there's literally anything you want to talk to us about, send it to that email. Anyone else got anything left to say about fall levels or Musha or the Switch 2 or anything?
Switch 2. No, it's just, I mean, Switch 2 rumors, Switch 2 information starting to slowly flow now. So I'll give, who knows, maybe by December, we might have a rough idea what Switch 2 even looks like, or they might actually give us have they given us a code name yet?
No, nothing. They have not even officially confirmed that they have a new system coming.
Even it's like the unkept secret that everyone knows about.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Sean, for half joining us. And we'll be back next week with more technical problems on Nintendo Therapy.